to Quickshots.
Welcome to Quickshots. James and Alex Fitzgerald, your favourite cousins, where we take your questions and we try and give you the best answer that we've got. Very popular little segment here, Alex, and you gave me the first one recently. I'll give you this one. Amy wants to know, how do we cover the repayments on a loan when interest rates are rising and interest rates are high?
Well, look, it is the topic on everybody's lips at the moment because, yes, interest rates are going up, but we all know that rents are also going up. And if you're not aware that rents are going up, that may be because you're not renting, or maybe you're living at home with mum and dad or with a family, which is, you might have to extend that period for a little bit longer, because trying to get into the rental market today is a very tough job. For example, last year in Brisbane alone, and Amy, I can see that you're in Brisbane, rents went up 11.6% in the year alone. That is sensational growth. But in saying that, covering the repayments, these are the sums that you've got to do before you go and buy a property. You have actually got to assess the cash flow of the property that you are buying, so that, you do build in some of these contingencies, like, having no rental income for a couple of weeks, or, your interest rate going up more. So these are the numbers that you do have to do before you buy a property. So you're not going into it too willy-nilly. But I will also say that, when you go and get lending from a bank, they'll actually assess you on your ability to repay principal and interest and at a higher interest rate. So they've put in a little bit of buffer for you as well. But of course, it's up to you to do those numbers and make sure that if the interest rate does change, you've got your money sorted and your budgeted sorted. You're not getting too crazy on that discretionary spending. Okay, so hopefully my internet's still hanging in there. This one's from Paul for you, cuz. Would Perth be a good place to invest?
Look, I don't think it's a bad place to invest. There might be some better places personally. Like, I'm not investing in Perth today because I think there is some better places in the short to medium term. This could very well date though, because Perth is one that is absolutely on my radar. Second lowest vacancy rate in all of Australia at the moment, and typically does sit at about sort of 60-70% of, in fact, gets as high as 80% of the Sydney median house price. It's sitting at about 50-55% today. So certainly, put it this way, I don't think you go wrong being in Perth. Is there other maybe better options in the short, medium term? Maybe, but certainly if I had investments in Perth, Paul, I would not be selling those. No way right now. Michelle wants to know, geez, we're jumping around to the different states today. Michelle wants to know, is it a good time to buy now in Brisbane, or should I wait a few months given that prices are going down?
Oh, this is the old should I wait? Just never wait. And, if you're waiting, you're playing the short-term game. You're too worried about what's going to happen in the next 12 months. You should be thinking about what's going to happen in the next 10 years, especially in Brisbane, Michelle. By the way, if you haven't looked at anything, or if you have been living under a rock, you've got the Olympics in 2032. Waiting is the biggest mistake that you can make. And that's not just because of property prices, but it's also because lending is literally changing month to month, week to week. So just, because property prices might go down a little bit, or they might stay stagnant for a little bit, doesn't mean you'll be able to borrow in 3 months. You might not even be able to borrow next month. You just don't know. So I just always say, just never wait. Never wait. You will not regret buying today, especially with the ability of hindsight.
Yeah, you got to take a long-term view when you do anything, but particularly when you're buying a house or your own home. And you might be surprised too, Michelle. I don't know where you're looking, but I think I live in Brisbane. Majority of the places that I look and keep a track on in and around where I live, prices aren't going down. It's just that there's hardly anyone selling. So I don't know that it's as simple as saying that because the Brisbane median house price in 2022 finished marginally down, that prices are going down. I think you'll find that it's more a product of a lot of people just not doing anything at the moment. So I think if you can get a good property, good property will always do well, and most importantly, take that long-term view.
Long-term always. And Michelle, rents are going up. Rents are still going to go up in some of those main capital cities on the eastern seaboard. So buying today and still getting a pretty strong yield is, assuming you're an investor, is a very big reality that your rents are going to go up. So I wouldn't worry too much.
I wouldn't too much worry.
I would not too much worry, said William Shakespeare. Anyway, that's just me.
Very eloquent end.
Very
eloquent ending.
Yeah, not. Eloquent and Alex, like they're not common things said
It's an oxymoron.
in the same sentence. Yeah, they are an oxymoron. Yeah, don't worry. I'm not offended. I'm fine. I'm not even offended. It's fine. Do we wrap it up? I think you've got
You're
places to be.
an oxymoron. All right, yeah, wrap it up.
You're an oxymoron.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Double Shot with your favourite cousins, Alex and James Fitzgerald. If you've got a burning question or something we absolutely need to talk about on the pod, please write to us. Both of our emails are in the show notes. For little real estate tidbits and a little bit of banter, okay, a lot of banter, you can follow us on the gram. Our handle is thedoubleshot.podcast. That, my friends, is thedoubleshot.podcast. Until next time, think of us when you sit back and sip your next double shot.